The honeymoon, in Manchester, lasted around 45 minutes. Luigi Di Biagio's debut as Italy coach produced an underwhelming 2-0 defeat against Argentina and prompted a slew of doubts over his suitability for the role. The ex-midfielder was promoted from under-21 boss to the full team for the two friendlies against Argentina and England. The South Americans, without the rested Lionel Messi, made light work of the goal-shy Azzurri. Di Biagio had been given generous coverage in the build-up, but the loss dented optimism. Italy's next full-time coach will be announced on May 20. The favorites are Carlo Ancelotti, Antonio Conte and Roberto Mancini. Claudio Ranieri is a dark horse. But few reporters are giving Di Biagio a chance of keeping the job, even if he masterminds a win at Wembley. The task facing Di Biagio was always daunting. As soon as Italy failed to qualify for the World Cup, dramatic cries of revolution filled the gloomy air. Everyone from fans to press demanded a fresh start and the changing of the guard. But Di Biagio, and anyone within the game, knew that you can't axe a squad overnight. Some retired, like Daniele De Rossi. Others, like Gianluigi Buffon, will probably bow out after these friendlies. But Leonardo Bonucci, Ciro Immobile, Jorginho, Alessandro Florenzi, Andrea Bellotti, Marco Verratti and Lorenzo Insigne still have a future in blue. In these two games, Di Biagio is trying to usher in young talent like Fiorentina winger Federico Chiesa and AC Milan striker Patrick Cotroni, but also select enough of the established side to avoid embarrassing defeats. Some goals would help too. After the blank against Argentina, Italy haven't scored in 3 games. They have only found the net 3 times in the last 630 minutes. But Di Biagio is a strong character, and overcame adversity in his playing career. Most notably in the Italy shirt. A tenacious and courageous central midfielder, Di Biagio missed a penalty in the shootout against France in the quarter-final of the 1998 World Cup. Walking up to the ball, he was confident in his ability to score, having converted a dozen in training the day before. But a shot cannoned off Fabian Barthez' bar, and Italy were out. The Azzurri gave France the hardest match of that tournament, but it was in vain. Di Biagio had his redemption though. In another match against the hosts, this time the Euro 2000 semi-final against Netherlands, spot kicks were required to find a winner. I wasn't supposed to take a penalty, but Alessandro, Del Piero and Filippo Inzaghi had gone off during the game. The boss, Dino Zoff, asked me to take a penalty, and despite my fear and uncertainty, I didn't think about saying no for a second. This time it went well. Di Biagio told the Italy team's YouTube channel. A reliable player with hometown club Roma, in turn then Brescia, Di Biagio began his coaching career in 2008. 3 years later he entered the national team system, taking over the under-20s. Making impressive progress, Di Biagio became under-21 coach in 2013. The 46-year-old guided Italy's youngsters in 2 European championships. In the first of those tournaments his side faced England, led by Gareth Southgate. The match finished 3-1 to Italy. Last year the Azzurri reached the competition's semi-finals, losing to a brilliant Spain. Then came the senior side's Armageddon against Sweden, and the resignation of coach Gianpiero Ventura. An interim boss was needed, and Di Biagio seemed the obvious solution. Although not for everyone. Claudio Gentile, ferocious right-back of Italy's 1982 World Cup winning team, and a former U21 coach himself, told Radio Sportiva, "It looks to me that there aren't any good options." Di Biagio failed with the under-21s, a side with 6 players from the senior team, after he'd said it was the best under-21 group for 20 years. "I don't think he's earned this opportunity. Others have been more encouraging." Gazzetta dello Sport's Sebastiano Vernazza wrote, "If this is year 0 for Italy, it's right to press reset, like coach Fulvio Bernardini did after the disaster at World Cup 1974, and as Elio Vicini did after Mexico '86. The fewer players from the playoff against Sweden there are at Wembley, the more Italy can bring in the future. Be bold, Di Biagio." In what could be his final game in charge, Di Biagio could move from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1, with Atalanta's revelation Brian Cristante in the number 10 role. Cristante, 23, was once considered the next big thing at Milan, making his debut in the Champions League age 16, but his habit of taking too many touches slowed him down and he slipped out of contention, joining Benfica. But now he has been revived by wily Atalanta coach Gianpiero Gasperini, and scored 11 goals this season. Midfield will be a pressing issue for the next Italy coach. Jorginho of Napoli has tremendous quality, but is yet to shine for the Azzurri. Then there is the eternal promise of Marco Verratti. On the scene since 2014, The PSG player is confident and has got the ability to be the fulcrum of the national side. But a combination of injuries and indiscipline have stunted his development. At 25, Verratti has time on his side, but the sooner the national team can find the best way to use him, the better. His persistence, agility and energy are formidable, and he is blatantly capable of more than he has shown in his 25 appearances so far. Far from a meaningless friendly, Tuesday night's game is an opportunity for several players to stake their claim. And if it is Luigi Di Biagio's last match, he'll want to go out with a bang, at the very least a goal.